Ladies and gentlemen, this is Toby Eunice of Gypsy Kiss, and tonight we've got a great panel for you. Our guest is Troy Barlow, and the topic of conversation is the level of media activity surrounding the Fenn treasure. Stick with us tonight. Stick with us a couple of seconds, and we're going to have a great night with this panel. And we're back. So, like I said, we have a great panel tonight. We hope you enjoy the discussion. We're going to be opening up the chat room, and Jason is going to be acting as producer, sorting through your questions. The topic tonight is about the level of media activity surrounding the hunt for Forrest Fenn's treasure. So we'd like to stick to that topic, so make sure your questions are on topic as we go through the evening. But that shouldn't prevent you from asking any of the panelists and or our guest any question that you want to get answered before we get onto topic. I'm going to turn my volume down just a little bit because I can see peaking right there. So let me fix that. Okay, so first I'd like to go around the horn and have everybody introduce themselves, starting with Cynthia.
I'm Cynthia Meacham. I live in Rio Rancho, just south of Santa Fe. I've been searching for going on 6 years.
And tell us about your web properties.
Oh, my website is www.chasingfinnstreasure.com. You can go visit me there and read my blog articles.
Good. And Mike Cowling?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Cowling. I've got a YouTube channel called Cow Lasers. We talk about the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt and other treasure hunts as well.
And Rick McDonald.
Hi, I'm Rick McDonald. I go by Illinois Ghost. I have a blog. It's Ghost Adventures. You can find it at illinoisghost.wordpress.com. You can also find me on my YouTube channel by searching Illinois Ghost.
Good. And Pam Shopman, let's go up to you.
Hi, I'm Pam Shopman, and my YouTube channel is Ramblin' Pam.
Thank you. And last but not least, our guest for the night, the gentleman's name is Troy Barlow. He goes by WyMustIGo in the forums. You've probably run into him. And he's recently started a YouTube channel, and that's why I wanted to invite him here. So, Troy, introduce yourself to the chat room and tell them about your YouTube channel and any other properties you may have online.
Hi, my name is Troy Barlow, and I'm in Florida. I've been searching for Forrest chest for about 4 years now. I took a little bit of time off, but I spent a lot of time on the forums, and more recently I created a YouTube channel. And also I can be found on Facebook. There's a Facebook group called Forrest Fenn's Treasure Galore, and either on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/WyMustIGo, or on Facebook pretty much now.
Tell us who who manages that Facebook channel that you mentioned?
The Facebook group is run by Janet Landgard and Charles Chapman.
Yeah.
And they have another person there named Terry Kasberg, who's a moderator. I've been on there for about a month now, and I was invited there by Janet.
Okay, good. And then last but not least, our producer for the night, my son, Jason. Jason, introduce yourself and tell them about your web properties.
Hi guys, I'm Jason Eunice. I'm Toby's son. I basically work support for our search team, and I'm a metalsmith by trade. You can find my work at newmexicotinwork.com.
Great. Now, normally at this point, I'd start by beginning the interview with Troy Barlow, but we have two special people with us on our panel tonight. The first is Mike Cowling, who on Cowlazars sponsored a competition to design a coin that represented the hunt or the search for Forrest Fenn's treasure. And we have the winner of that competition in the form of Rick McDonald or Illinois Ghost. And this just happened over the past couple of days. So, Mike, let's take a little bit of time before we get into Q&A and tell us a little bit about the competition, how you got it. I think Forrest was involved. Tell us about the competition and how you ended up selecting Rick's entry.
Well, how it all started is I got an email from a searcher that was out in the field, and he found an arrowhead and a drawing that he believed a prior searcher had left for somebody to find. And I thought that was a neat idea, and he wanted to know who it was that left it. So that night when I went to bed, I happened to see my father's Iraqi Freedom military coin on my dresser. Right. And the idea occurred to me, why don't we have a Forrest Fenn searcher coin? So I basically emailed Forrest Fenn with the idea, and he was open to it. And then it turned into a design contest. The idea was, why don't we have the searchers? Anybody can design what they think the coin should look like. Forrest looked at all the designs, picked the one he liked the most, and Rick was the winner.
Very nice. So do me one favor after you answer this question. What are your plans for the coin? What will happen next?
So the coins are going to be in production very soon. The coins will be available to be purchased. Well, I'm still putting the details together right now. Another interesting thing is there was a class in Bowler, Wisconsin, who submitted designs, and I've had 13 people who have donated for each one of those students to receive a coin. So 34 coins, and I actually have the money already. We just talked about this yesterday.
Wow.
13 people, and yeah, I was surprised too. So each one of those 5th and 6th graders will get a coin. Oh, and I'll have the details here in the next couple of days on how people can get a coin if they want one.
And so they'll be made available for purchase?
That's correct. They will be made available for purchase. I'm still locking down those details.
And just roughly, because I didn't get a sense from the designer side, how big are the coins that you're going to make?
Forrest wanted the poem on the back of the coin. Ooh. So the coin is going to be 2.25 inches, a little bit bigger than I had thought, but 2.25 inches, about an inch wider than a silver dollar.
So like from there to there. So it's a pretty good sized coin.
It's a good sized coin. That's going to adjust the cost a little bit, but I will be taking pre-orders for the coin very soon. So
well, good. We look forward to that.
I'll have the details.
And what metal are they going to be made of?
It's a metal alloy, but it's going to have an antique copper finish on it.
Oh, very
so
nice.
It's going to look like it's copper.
I have no idea what Jason's doing. And then I had one more question for you. So size, what it's going to be made of. Okay. And you'll let us know when they're available for purchase.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
There will be a website at some point. I will let you know about the pre-orders before that time. And yeah, anybody that wants one will definitely be able to get one.
And Rick, let's go over to you. What made you, first of all, decide to enter the competition?
Actually, I like the idea. I thought the idea was pretty neat. I thought of that one time ago that, because I do coins a lot and other things that I do. And I thought, boy, it would be pretty neat if we had like a commemorative coin for that. So I thought it was a good idea. And that's why I wanted to get in on it. And
where did you get the basic idea for your design?
Well, actually, I wrote down a couple of things before I started. I wanted it, originally Mike had said it was going to be for people to find or people to leave where they had already searched. And I thought, well, what if somebody was to find it and they don't know who Forrest is, because, it happens. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I wanted to be sure that I incorporated the word treasure hunt on it, so it said Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. Then also I wanted searchers to feel like it could be like a good luck coin. So that's why I added the good luck to the back. And then I also kind of thought, like Mike said, the poem is a treasure map. I felt like, it has to have the poem on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's probably why it got to be such a big coin then, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I was wondering if it was going to go too, because I thought, man, that's going to be awful small on a coin like that, trying to read a poem.
Well, maybe that's the part of the adventure of owning this coin is going to be able to read it so that you can follow the poem. So I like the idea of it, because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a bunch of them and I'm going to leave them in places where we have searched to let people know that we've been there, I guess. I don't know. So
there was a
great idea.
Yeah.
There was a couple other things going on with that coin. I wanted to mention it tonight. Originally, Mike had said, the winner would get the first 3 coins, and I was under the impression, especially when he said they'd going to be numbered, that it would be 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And Mike had mentioned that he was wanting to give Forrest the number 1 coin, and I was going to do the same thing. If I got 1, 2, and 3, I was going to give Forrest the number 1 coin. So I talked to Mike, and Mike was going to give me the 1, 2, and 3. So I give up the coin number 1 to go in, as a gift from me and Mike to Forrest to give him coin number 1.
That's very cool.
And then also Mike was how do you say, he's not selfish. He was going to give up one of the coins, and it's his contest, everything. He was going to give up one of the coins and not even have one. He was going to have a later print. So I gifted the second coin back to Mike.
Oh, well, that's very, very
And I
kind
appreciate that, Rick. Thank you.
Very
That's going
nice.
to go on the treasure hunting bookshelf, and it'll be there.
Your guys are having a little selfless competition. Selflessness. I don't know what the word is.
That's what I
Rick
was trying
gets
to
coin
think of.
number 3.
Yes. Tell me what the word is, chat room. So, but for both of you, it was such a good idea. And again, I think like a lot of things that we're doing right now, it helps to build out the community. It gives us something tangible to own that helps us to memorialize our adventure in all of this. So I just thought it was a genius idea. I remember you bringing it up, and I can't remember whether it was in a phone conversation or one of our post panel conversations there. But even then, I thought it was a really good idea, and I was even more pleased to see that one of our panel members was the winner of the competition. So congratulations to the both of you, Mike for getting the idea and implementing it, and Rick for taking the challenge and coming up the winner of the competition. So congratulations, well done. All right, let's go out. I don't want to spend too much time. Let's go back to our guest tonight, Troy Barlow. Why Must I Go? He has his own new YouTube channel. He's already been populating. How many videos do you have on your YouTube channel now, Troy?
I think I have 11.
Yeah. And so what kind of topics are you covering?
Just Forrest Fenn. I have one video up there of my father. Just
your first one. That's the first one that went up there, right?
Yeah, but everything else just for Forrest Fenn.
And so narrow it down just a little bit for us. Of the 11 videos, yes, they're all about, or 10 of them are about the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. What kind of very specific things are you talking about from video to video? Just give us some examples.
Well, in one of the videos, I discussed the possibility of using the poem to create the X, and underneath the X would be where the blaze is. So, in other words, instead of following the poem point to point, I'm going to go where warm water salt and then down the canyon. And instead of doing it like that, you're actually plotting points and creating your own X.
Yeah.
And then beneath the X, when you look quickly down, is where the blaze would be.
So basically, you're sharing with your audience what would normally be referred to as solution theories.
Right. I'm trying not to stick with any specific state. I'm trying to keep, as much as I can, the content open, regardless of where you're searching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I found that that's better, because, I mean, putting a solution out there is so subjective. Everybody has their own ideas, so I'm trying to steer away from that.
So we know it's a big decision to put yourself out there on a YouTube channel. What was it that made you decide to start sharing this content, this information, with the rest of the search community?
Well, a couple of things. I like discussing, thinking outside the box, and thinking of ideas that maybe are not talked that much. And I also enjoy helping people. A lot of people ask me the same question you did: why am I doing it? And I tell them, it's not necessarily about the chest for me. I enjoy helping people, and I enjoy solving problems. If I found the chest, yeah, sure. I mean, that would be great, but I'm not really concerned if something got out there that meant that somebody could beat me to it. First of all, I think it's going to be difficult to solve it. So I don't necessarily think it's that easy, but if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
So I was on a couple of forums, mainly Dow's and Jenny's forum for a while, and I discussed a lot of this stuff over the past probably 2 years mainly. But last year I started to take it serious, and I stepped back and I'm looking more. I don't want to say I'm a poem purist, because I'm not. I'm a thrill of the chase purist. So, and basically I have Sean and M to thank for that, in part, because last year we had a discussion about it, and he, of course, is a poem purist. And it made me reevaluate everything when I saw from last year failed. And I figured, okay, I'm going to go back to the poem, and I'm going to use the book. Yeah. And in my other video, I discussed the strategy on using the poem as if it's a table of contents into the book. Huh. Okay. So I give an example of how to get there. I'm a little bit farther ahead from that point, but I didn't want to make things too complicated. But but as you know, in Thrill of the Chase, there's a lot of aberrations, and it's really easy to go down a rabbit hole. So I'm really trying to be careful to make sure that anything I use in the Thrill of the Chase is being used only because the poem sent me directly there.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of jumps around.
So, if you don't mind me asking, and you're welcome not to answer this question, I got you, Jace. Give me a sec. In what state do you believe the treasure resides?
Oh, Wyoming.
Uh-oh. Interruption. Whose phone? Is that you, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. No worries. I'm sorry. Troy, let's go back to you. Do you care sharing where you think what state the treasure's in?
No problem with it. I mean, I think it's in Wyoming.
Uh-huh.
And not only that, I'll even tell you, I think it's in Fremont County.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, we've been there.
It's a big area. It's not like
yeah.
It's not like everybody's going to go to one spot. I tried to look at other states, and I couldn't. You know, I just kept on coming back to Wyoming.
You hang on, Rick. Rick. Oh, he's muted himself. Okay. All right. Yeah. Jason. I'm sorry, Jason.
Dad, okay. So just really quick.
Yeah.
Troy, first off, pleasure to meet you. Secondly, if you have an adjustment for your mic, bring your mic level up a bit. The chat says it's a little more difficult to hear you over Dad.
You know what? That was my fault because this afternoon when we were testing it, I asked him to take it down, and he actually found a problem with it. So a couple of things before we go on. Troy, do that, and then we'll check it out.
Again,
how's that?
I don't know if it's any better.
Where were you? Where were you before? At 70?
I was at 80. It's at 90 now.
All right. Let's see what that does for the rest of the room. I tend to be a little bit loud anyway. So a couple of things. Number one, for those of you that noticed, Shelley isn't with us tonight. Shelley is traveling with her husband, Kevin. They're on their way to Mississippi for the college graduation of her future son-in-law. So they'll be back on Sunday, and she'll be back next week for our shows. And then the second thing is tomorrow, since we're very interested in building the YouTube community, since Shelley won't be around for the book club and I rely on her analysis for the book club, I'm going to be doing a live stream, and I'm going to be talking about things that are related to building a YouTube channel. So if you have a YouTube channel or you're planning to build one, tomorrow we're covering the topic of how to control what I call control the trolls, control the haters, because YouTube provides a lot of features for you to be able to do that. And I thought I'd share those with you so you know that it's not as bad as sometimes it looks on your channel or it looks on somebody else's channel before they've actually worked with it. Okay, let's go back to the question. Jace, did you have a question from the chat room?
No, it was just that technical adjustment.
Okay. All right.
We're doing good.
All right. So let's start with the other panelists, beginning with you, Pam. A question for Troy, please.
Okay. Troy, in one of your videos there, how Forrest hid the chest, you talked about the land trust deeds, and I think they're referred to as in holdings. I was wondering if you found a source that you are willing to share with us of being able to look up to be able to search for these private parcels of land that are within national parks or BLM.
No, I mean, I haven't tried to look it up because honestly, I think even if the idea of the proxy is true, even knowing where the land is not going to help me because you have to solve the poem to get access to the land, is the way I described it. And Forrest had to do it in such a way that all the clues on the poem have to be on public access land. He couldn't have put it on private land, that would not be a good thing. However, that doesn't mean that the title can't be in the last item. So without having that, you really don't have access to the private land. And even if you did, I think he buried it on private land if he used the proxy. And the reason why I say that is because he seemed so adamant that nobody's going to happen upon that chest. Well, if he buried it at a metal detector range, and I envisioned the property being just a small piece of property in the middle of nowhere, probably in New Mexico, where would you dig, even if you knew where the property was? I mean, it's just not practical. and besides that, I don't know anyways. I'm sure there are, especially if you're in the military or in law enforcement. There's probably and of course the IRS knows who you are, but I'm not really.
Cynthia, let's go over to you. Question for Troy, please.
Yeah, Troy, did you say when you were introducing yourself tonight where you live? And if not, where do you live?
I live in Florida.
In Florida, that's what I thought. How many boots on the ground searches have you done?
4.
And you've been searching like 4 years, right? So, so basically once a year you get to actually go search. Is that correct?
I went twice in 1 year and twice in another. The first year I don't even want to talk about because it was the first year, and the typical Yellowstone, Grebe Lake, so basically since 2016, the last 2 times were I haven't been out for a year. However, I do have a partner that is a business owner, and he lives in my search area in Fremont County. He's also a big game hunter, so he can go out anytime. He's dealt with grizzly bears, so pretty much I could be boots on the ground at any point.
Oh, very nice. So at this point, what you're doing is developing the search strategies, passing them on to him, and he implements them?
That's correct. Yeah. At first, he contacted me, and he contacted me when I was over at Jenny's, and he wanted some help with his solve, and he was new to the chase. And he didn't find it where it was, and I kind of basically told him I don't think it's there. So now I'm doing all of the work, and he's going to be the boots on the ground, because he realizes that because of the health issues and just, the cost of going there from Florida, I can't do it as frequently as we'd like to. So
yeah,
but he's got no problem with that. As a matter of fact, initially he only wanted a coin.
Oh,
he doesn't even so we just talked about this again recently, and because he had to go out of the country for a while, and I guess he really felt bad that I'm putting a lot of effort, and he really didn't do that much. But I told him I'm not going to do that. It's still 50-50. But if you don't want to give your money, what I intend to do, if I find it, is take 50% of it, and we're going to set up some kind of a nonprofit out there to help the younger people, especially on the Wind River Reservation, because I think they're getting a raw deal. And we don't just want to give them money so it ends up in the tribe leaders. We want to do stuff to help the kids, whether it's camping or I was thinking, because I have 30 years as a professional software developer. I worked at Adobe. I did games for Intel. So I would even offer my time to help educate them, remotely.
Yeah.
But that's what we intend to do with my partner's half, basically.
Jason, you've got one from the chat room, and then I'll go over to you, Mike.
Okay. I have a question for Troy. It says, this is from Julie Smith. She asks, what is your opinion on Fenn's quote, "You can't ignore any of the nouns in that poem," and how might that relate to your theory of using the book as part of your possible solve?
Well, I agree with that completely. I think that if all we have to work with is the poem, it's extremely important to know which words are nouns, which words are verbs. There are a lot of searchers out there I see they like to work with synonyms. The problem is you can't just go in a dictionary and grab the synonyms. You have to grab the appropriate synonym based on the context that the word's being used in the poem. So yeah, I think it's extremely important to nail down those definitions. And yeah, basically you have to know what the nouns and the verbs are, and the adjectives, so on.
And so let's extend Julie's question just a little bit. Is understanding what not only the meanings, the definitions of those words, but how they relate in the forms of synonyms, is that going to get you closer to the treasure?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think it is because especially when you're using it to reference the book. The poem is straightforward, and I believe that. you could solve this whole thing with just the poem, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what it's looking like when you're using it to access the book, he used every trick there is. I mean, everything he tells you not to do with the poem, you do that with the book. Because I mean, I'm not kidding when it seems to lead you to specific locations, but all of that is all hinged on the fact that you understand what the words mean in the poem. Otherwise, it's not going to lead you to the right place.
All right. Mike, your question.
So, are you saying you think the 9 clues lead you to an actual title, to the land where the actual treasure chest is, and you have to have that in hand before you can actually go on that land to find the treasure chest?
Well, before I answer that, let me just say that I think that's what he did for legal reasons, and I think that he did that to maintain control of the chase. I don't believe that he just took the chest and stuffed it out there, and he hopes that the finder's going to tell him where it is. I don't believe that. But what I want to say before I answer that is that my solution, and I don't think anybody's solution, should really matter whether or not we believe that that's true, because all it should really do is open your mind that you may not be looking for a chest. I mean, he tells us he's going to give us title to the gold. He tells us that we seek the trove. Okay. So I wouldn't rule out that we're going to find some kind of a proxy item, and inside that proxy item, perhaps it's a bronze jar, a tiny one, a chest, whatever, is something, and in there would be the title and the directions you need to get access to the property where the chest is. Now, the minute that's kind of like putting a wall between the finder and the chest, because there's no way to get the chest without having the legal access. And that would kind of be the back door for Forrest and for his estate to know that the land has legally changed hands, let's say. So at that point, he calls off the chase. He doesn't even have to know whether you actually went there and retrieved the chest. So, but all I'm trying to say is that when you go and look, don't just look for the chest, and don't assume that the final area or the 9th clue is going to be a place large enough to hold Forrest going to Bones, right? He said he was going to do that where the chest is. He didn't say he was going to do that at the 9th clue. And he didn't say that the 9th clue is the chest. It says it's the title. And then the other thing is he uses treasures plural, riches is plural. Why? You know, could there be 2 treasures? One's the proxy item. And the other thing that buys him is he could take the chest, hide it in New Mexico, bury it in New Mexico so nobody could find it, and then go up to Yellowstone with a 1-pound jar shoved in his pocket with Shiloh or anybody, even a commercial airline, and go up to one of his meetings up to Cody and easily get out and hide that, because he's not walking around with a 42-pound chest. So it buys him a lot of things, I think. The only catch is he cannot put any of the clues on private land, right? That would be wrong. But there's nothing that says he can't give you legal access when you reach the 9th location and grab the title and then tell you exactly, precisely where the chest is. And in that video where Forrest says, what if there is no legal question? Well, there would be no legal question. It's on your land in New Mexico or whatever. It's your land. You own it. I mean, think about it.
So how does your hypothesis change after, if it does at all, after Forrest passes away?
It doesn't matter. Okay. He puts money in an escrow account through the LLC. And if it's undeveloped property and it's really small, the property taxes are only going to be a few $100 a year. If he put $100,000 in there, he's covered for a couple of 100 years in taxes, unless things got really bad, but he's probably covered for at least 100. But let's say that it goes into foreclosure because the escrow runs out. So what, right? So somebody gets the property from foreclosure. Now they own the property and there's a treasure chest buried on there and they don't know about it. This stuff happens all the time when people buy houses. Now, let's say somebody finds the proxy item 100 years down the road and the property is no longer Forrest. They're still going to find that. Okay, the title may not be any good, But I would assume, first of all, it's 100 years. Who cares? But if you're smart, you would probably find who owns the property, try to get a good deal from it from them, or be honest with them and say, hey, there's a treasure chest buried on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I get part of it. I mean, so either way, it fulfills his legacy. The chest might even last longer on that property, and it guarantees almost 100% that nobody's going to happen on that chest, and there's no way that somebody's going to find it and not tell him, because he will. Now the finder, I just want to make one thing clear: they could still be anonymous, because they could, just like he did, set up an LLC and then use their lawyer to transfer ownership. So Forrest doesn't know, and nobody knows who you are, that you got it. But Forrest doesn't care. All he cares is, okay, he tells his lawyers or his estate, if this occurs, call off the chase. It's been found. That's it.
Interesting. Rick McDonald, got a question for Troy?
Yeah, I do. That table of contents theory that you had, I was wondering, is that theoretical, or have you been using that on your boots in the ground searches that you've done?
Oh, no. No, I've been using that since last year when the desert problem came up.
And
I'm using that with my solve. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also, I wanted to ask, I've seen that you used one of the scrapbooks, photo from one of the scrapbooks, and are you a believer that there's actually clues in the scrapbooks on all of them, or?
I think they're there, but they're only there to confirm. I don't use them anymore. That was last year. And just briefly, in May, what happened was my sarcophagus solved. I got a friend of mine named Donna McChesney from Dow site, went on site for me because I couldn't go as a doctor. They went out there and checked it out. The solve was really good. And I don't get into the whole solve, but I was convinced it was there, but I didn't do what a lot of other people do. I didn't go on the forums and say, if somebody beat me and it's gone. I contacted Forrest and I sent him video. I sent him pictures because I wanted to prove to him that, look, we're here. I'm not trying to save a trip. We're here. I don't want to know if my solve is okay, but was the chest ever in this place? He didn't answer me. He went back at me a couple of times. Of course, where's your warm water halt? I told him. Then he came back and said, look around you, Troy. Do you see any mountains? I said, yeah, I do. I see the Wind River Range. I see the, this mountain, that mountain. And he goes, no, Troy, you're in a desert. And I said, no, it's not. I actually argued with him. No, it's not. I said, and I said, you said you want to die in a desert. He said, it's not a desert. The Red Desert is the only desert in Wyoming. The very next day is when he posted that thing on Jenny's site where it said, if your solve's in a desert, get a new solve. So I went back to him and I apologized for, being a fool for arguing with him. But I put that video out there mainly because I just wanted to show others that he considers that area desert. Now, people might not believe me. They can go search their sarcophagus all they want. It's not there, but he considers that area desert. Now, I would assume that means Castle Gardens is desert, Hell's Half Acre is desert, and just keep going right up between the Bighorn Mountains, and Yellowstone, that center part. Maybe that's all desert. I don't know. But I'm not there anymore. I'm in the mountains. About 2 days after that happened in June, I sent Forrest another solve because I watched the video of him at the lure pre-screening, and he mentioned something about clue water. So I took my beginning and put it with an ending from a different solve, put me back in the mountains, and I sent him an email and said, okay, this is where I'm going now. And that was the last time I heard from Forrest. I mean, I probably sent him 100 emails over the course of 4 years.
Wow.
Well, he was talking with me maybe 20, 25 times, all small talk. He never answered any solve.
Right.
We joked occasionally. He was going to, I told him at one point, water was more valuable in Texas than oil. And he said, okay, I'll trade you, a barrel of water for
a barrel of oil. Yeah.
Right. So, but I don't know what happened. I sure hope that he's not mad. I don't think I did anything to make him mad, but the end of June was the very last time he talked to me. Well, not a happy birthday, nothing. He doesn't, nothing.
Well, don't feel like a Lone Ranger. Jason, do you have a question for us from the chat room?
So a few comments first from Joey Perro, who says, thank you for bringing different minds into your vlog. I'm enjoying it immensely. And hello to Troy. Fenn Treasure Hunter says, at Troy, good to pay to put a face with the vlog. I enjoy your videos. And from Dr. Brown, this question. So it's just the definitions of the words in the poem that one needs and no hints from the thrill of the chase.
What do you think, Troy?
Yeah, no, I mean, I believe Forrest when he said that you could solve it with just a poem. But to me, you know, that's trial and error. It could take 1,000 years to do that. If, you know, he keeps telling us over and over, read the book, read the poem, read the book, read the poem. So I decided to take it a step farther and said, okay, but I read the book many times. And I don't want to get stuck with this Robert Redford or, you know, the Trapper's Journal. And Flywater and 8 million different things. So I said, there's got to be a way. And then I thought about it last year. I said, well, maybe the poem it's got 2 omegas. The first omega is the poem can be used to access. It's a map of the book. It's the missing table of contents. And the second way is using it in the real world. So what I was doing was taking the poem and going to specific locations in the book. And then when you read that part of the book, it almost skips you around in the book and you're getting a different story. And I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, but I really doubt it.
Yeah.
It confirms it to me. It confirms when you're there that this is no mistake. This is not a red herring. You're here because the poem sent you. You know, I mean, it just, you know, I want to read just one thing to you, right? The most important line in the first hint in the Thrill of the Chase book, in my opinion, is, so I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that, if followed precisely, will lead to the end of my rainbow and the treasure. He doesn't end that sentence. So where does that sentence end? Does it end at the end of the first stanza? We know the first stanza is not a clue because he said, begin at where woman or salt is the first clue. Well, the first stanza, just reading it, to me, sounds like a riddle. You know, as I've gone alone in there, the memoir, and with my treasures bold. His treasures are not physical treasures. They're in his mind. They're the stories. And he's bold in some of them stories. You know, I keep my secret where? The memoir, right? And hint of riches new and old. Well, the hints of the riches new and old is about the gold stuff. So he's telling you that my secrets are in the book. So then I just kept going with that. And I said, okay, let's try this. And let's see if the first line acts it. So, you know, just to be really brief, the first line of the poem is, as I have gone alone in there. Well, if you search the book, there's only one place you're going to find in that book where you'll find Forrest Fenn. It's only in the cover flaps and the title page, but he's on page 23. Now, if you read that, the first paragraph, you'll see where he goes, without my name, I would have nothing. And then you count 23 words down, and there's Forrest. There's 23 characters left, beginning with Fenn. And then you go down to no name again. You can actually go through that with the rest of the poem, and it steps you through the book. I mean, it's really weird the way it works. And I didn't want to explain too much. Well, part because I'm keeping it for myself right now. But,
well, the other thing
but
too,
it also starts getting real complicated. And a lot of the comments I was getting was that, you know, Forrest said it's simplify, and that's true when you're talking about the poem.
Yeah.
But you have a choice. Either you're going to do it with the poem and go and try every possible place, or you're going to have to work really hard to find the hints, because the hints are not deliberately placed. I mean, the chapters are not. You have to find them with the poem. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
All right. So I guess what I'm going to recommend is, to me, that this is a very complex solution, as all good solutions are. And I think the opportunity for you is to use your YouTube channel that you've started, that you're developing, to explain a lot of these really different and interesting theories, because I like them. And it sounds like we could go on all night with some of these, because I know some of the other folks have questions. But I do have to break here. So I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being so open in your explanations. And I hope that we can see more of that openness in the videos that follow on your YouTube channel. And I wish you the best of luck. I think you have some interesting hypotheses and theories, and I think that's going to generate traffic for you, and it's going to create more interest in what you're talking about, because they sound to me well thought out. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're glad that you're here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I promised you that we were going to spend some time talking about the level of media activity surrounding the Fenn treasure. I want to spend the rest of our hour this evening talking about that with our guest, with our panelists and our guest. And Jason, I know you had some questions. We'll try and hold those to the end. We'll let everybody know what we'll do with those. But today, I got bombarded with a bunch of emails from some searchers who are also viewers on our channel, informing me of this marketing campaign that Enterprise Car Rental launched using the Fenn treasure hunt as a basis for the campaign. They have a great little YouTube video describing, very well produced. It's an expensive, being a video production specialist, I can tell you it's an expensively made video about a dad and his son reading the poem and going to look for the treasure. Now, it looks like it was shot like in western Colorado, so they're not exactly in the right location as far as I'm concerned. How do I know? I don't know where the treasure is. But it looks like they had a great time. In addition to that, they developed a landing page very specific to this idea of renting a car and taking your family out to go look for the Fenn treasure. And then inside of that landing page is another article written about the Fenn treasure, Fenn and the Fenn treasure. The article, you're not going to hear, they didn't interview Fenn. And you're not going to read anything in the article that you didn't already know. It's just part of this marketing campaign that, honestly, if I met this marketing guy that came up with this idea, I'd shake his hand, because I think, as a marketing guy, I think it's a damn good idea. Anyway, in the description box of this program below, I posted a link to a blog article on gypsykiss.com, and it has all the links to the video, to the landing page, and to the associated article. So enjoy. But again, suddenly there's this new media thing that's happening that seems very active to me. So I'm going to go around the horn with each of our panelists, and I'm going to ask them the question. Cynthia, what's up with media right now? Why is there so much activity? What's happening that has created such activity?
Well, I don't know if what actually the original thing that kicked it off was, and I think we talked about it last night, where the ABC Nightline show came out in January, and then I don't know if the different internet, the media finds it there, or I don't know how it all originates. But once an article goes out, you actually can find the stuff then as a headline, almost like on the homepage of MSN or Yahoo. Yeah. And that generates a ton of buzz. And if you're a journalist and you never heard of this before, you should have from that. And I imagine that's what instigated a lot of it.
And that's what started. I have a real sense that part of it was Fenn saying on that Nightline interview that this might be my last interview. I think what he meant is this might be his last video interview, because I think he's a very proud man, as I said last night. But I don't think that's going to prevent him from talking to print or online print journalists. So there's something there. Pam, what do you think about all the media activity? What's going on? What impact is it going to have on the search?
You know, when he said that he had a gut feeling that it could be found this summer, I think part of that kind of spiked maybe a lot of more attention. But gosh, I don't know, maybe he has an idea that somebody is closer than he's let on.
Yeah, I think that's one of the common themes in the forum, that somebody has told him someplace that they've been or they're going, and he's got the sense that they're closer than they have been in the past, although I don't know how much closer than 200 feet you could possibly get. So maybe it's just the people that were in that 200-foot club have realized, well, I'm going back for, all the places that I've been.
Right. Maybe they're not, giving up on that area too. Maybe right. They're more serious about it, and he knows that they're not just going to walk on by.
Exactly. Mike, what do you think?
Well, I'd like to know, my question would be, how many actual interviews has Forrest Fenn done? Because a lot of the articles I've seen, it just seems to be the same thing from an article previous.
Right.
Just seems like they regurgitate the same thing. Maybe they change it a little bit. Maybe that's not a good word to use, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. And I never really put much stock in things when Forrest Fenn does an interview or the scrapbooks. But now that I hear that he put out a scrapbook in direct response to the conversation he had with Troy, maybe about the desert, maybe I'll have to revisit those a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Rick, you've been around a long time. What do you think? Am I imagining this this increase in media activity, or is there something there? And what do you think has caused it?
No, actually, I think the media is just starting to blow up. I think it's going to, we're going to get a lot more. I don't know if it's just Forrest participating in it all, or I'm kind of with Pam. I'm thinking, when Forrest made that comment, I'm thinking the media thinks, hey, somebody's going to find this soon, and we better get on it. And that's kind of what it's starting to seem like, though.
Troy, what do you think?
I think that he wants it found. I also, this is kind of, I guess, good news. I think that, it's interesting that a lot of people were complaining about what happened yesterday with, the article coming out and with Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
But I think actually the opposite is occurring. It used to be, and there's nothing wrong with Dallas, don't get me wrong, and there's nothing wrong with Jenny, but it was always Dal and Jenny. And I noticed that he's open to more people now. He's talking to Rick, he's talking to Mike, he's talking to Cynthia, and Thor. He's giving other forums a good chance. It's not just Jenny, because Thor's got a forum going on. You got Jenny's forum, you got Facebook groups, and I think that's a good thing. To me, he's doing the opposite of what they were accusing him of. I think he's bringing more people. He's making himself accessible to more people.
Let me go ahead. Yeah. Let me do this real quick, just around the horn. It's a yes/no question. Cynthia, do you believe the treasure will be found this summer?
No.
Mike?
I do not know.
Rick?
I'm still kind of in between. I'm feeling that it's going to, yeah.
Troy?
I think it is.
Pam?
I think it is.
Okay, for you guys out in the chat room, the question for you tonight is, do you agree with Forrest Fenn? Does your gut tell you that treasure is going to be found this summer? Actually, let me change that. Do you think that treasure, yes or no, that treasure is going to be found this search season? So we can expand it from the time the snow melts till the time it starts snowing again. Okay, just put a line in the chat room. Tell me what you think. We got a little survey tonight.
Toby, can I say one thing regarding what you just said?
Sure.
You might want to remind the newer viewers here that over the past 8 years, this is the first time he's actually said that.
Yeah, that's true. He's never given an indication. He's always talked about, the treasure, he might be found before he passes, but he thinks it's going to be 100 years, maybe even 1,000 years. So let me say a couple of things. My partner, Shelly Carney, is in the house. She's in the chat room in Shawnee, Oklahoma. If it's graduation time in Shawnee, Oklahoma, make sure all the valuables are out of your car. Been there, done that. Sorry. Hi, Shelly. Glad to see you in the room. We're having a good night tonight, and we all miss you. Jason Michael, did you have a question that related to the topic tonight? I didn't know if I had missed one.
No, well, they were from back when we were still talking with Troy and everything. So now it's just back and forth on the.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's go back to the media activity. And where did I leave off? Did everybody get to make a statement on the media activity? Did I get everybody? Okay. All right. So then the second part of this is, what is your opinion on how this media activity, which always increases the number of new searchers, which has an impact on Dale's site, which has an impact on my site, which has an impact on everybody in here if you have an internet property. So Cynthia, the question is, how is all this activity going to hinder or help the average active searcher?
I don't think it makes a difference one way or the other. I I don't know. Everyone knows my search area is Yellowstone, West Yellowstone. That area has been searched probably by thousands or tens of thousands of people in the last 8 years. And then they probably disperse and have either quit or they go somewhere else. So, I think the busy areas will still be busy. And I don't see that much of an impact. I actually think it's wonderful. It gets more people out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Pam, what do you think?
When we were out, like Cynthia had said before, we didn't run into anybody that looked like they were looking for the treasure. And so I don't know that it's really going to have much of an impact other than, it's neat that there's a lot of other people that are interested now, but I don't think it's really going to have an impact.
I've always wondered about the delta between what I would call the active boots on the ground searcher, someone who's spending the winter months researching and then takes that research and goes boots on the ground, versus the individuals who are doing the research but never have any intent. They're doing it because it stimulates their mind or stimulates their interest or stimulates their heart. But they don't ever actually have any interest in getting boots on the ground and are living vicariously through the stories that are being told by the boots on the ground searchers. So I think there's a big delta there for some reason. Mike, what do you think? What impact is it going to have on the community, on the search area, on YouTubers, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I think it's a good thing. I think the more people involved, the more YouTube videos, the more forums and discussion groups. I think that's great for the community. I don't think it's going to do effect if the treasure's found or not. I don't think it's going to make the treasure found any sooner. But I think it does help the original idea that Forrest had. And if just a small percentage of these new people get out there in the wilderness and experience the thrill of the chase, I mean, that's what it's all about originally. So
yeah, he's actually achieved his objective. Rick, what do you think?
Kind of with Mike on that. I feel it's a good thing also. I think it's increasing the activity. It's getting exactly what Forrest wants, people getting out. I think the media is going to be doing a big boost on that, and that, it's pushing people out there. The only thing I'm getting concerns, it seems like, I don't know if you're getting it on your blog or anything, but it seems like a lot of people are playing catch up, and they're making comments and stuff like, none of us know or something like that. Have you seen any of that?
Yeah, I see kind of two forms. People coming to conclusions based on their first pass at this that are so way off the mark. You want to tell them, no, you need to do some additional research. You really just need to spend some more time on it. But I feel like I could spend the entire day doing that. I get a lot of emails from people asking questions that other searchers answered 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, as they're jumping into it, they're asking questions that you want to say, look, go spend 30 days doing some research, terryscant.com, watch my videos, and then come back and start asking some of these questions. Troy, what do you think? Is this going to have an impact? How's it going to change? How is it going to change the search if it does?
Well, I think it's only going to get better. I think more people, just more minds. If it doesn't get solved this summer, it's not going to hurt to have more people on it. I kind of feel sorry for some of the new people in a way, because Terry Scant was a good addition, but if you don't really have good, Google skills,
right?
The forums and the internet is so polluted with incorrect information, bad quotes, and it's really difficult to, as time goes on, to search.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I'm going to try to do on my channel, help teach people how to get around that and how to do better search.
Whenever I get the question, whenever I get not a question about what I do next, I don't get those. What I get are questions of, I found that, I just started this 24 hours ago. I think I've solved the riddle. Can you give me a sense of what he means by the Homo Brown, just to make sure? And so what I'm doing to them is I'm saying, we have a playlist of what we call kind of the 3 requisite Fenn videos. The interview that he did with, what's her name, Laureen Mills, the Moby Dickens video, and the first collected works video. Go watch those. And then learn how to use Terry Scant, because that'll give you a head start and pretty much answer all those early questions that everybody asks. We don't know the answer to the question, what does he mean by the homo brown? If we knew the answer to that question, we'd all be further along in our search. So I like the idea. I'm enthused for the search by the fact that a large corporation has invested a significant amount of money and marketing effort into using this as a mechanism to promote itself. I think it's going to add more interest, and I think all of us are going to experience more hits on our various blogs and YouTube channels, et cetera, and I think that's good news. All right, Jason, I'm about to transition to the close and outro. Do we have any questions from the room for anyone kind of generally on topic, or for Troy because he's our guest tonight?
Well, okay, I'll have to go a little back to, there was a couple for Troy. Give me just a moment.
So while Jason's doing that, and I want to give Troy the opportunity to answer those questions as quickly as he can. But while Jason's doing that, if you had questions either for Troy or any of the other panel members for tonight, we'll collect, and you didn't get them answered. As you can see, we move along pretty quickly here and get a lot of those questions. I'll collect those questions, share them with the panelists if they're designed for the panelists, and we will get them answered for you one way or the other. Usually in the comments box, what I'll do is I'll make a big comment below with the answers to the questions that didn't get asked, as long as they're either for Troy, our guest, or they're related to tonight's topic. Okay. You got a quick one for Troy?
One from Joel Lewicki.
Okay.
And this is for Troy. It says, Forrest has said there is no safety deposit box, and the poem leads to the treasure. How do you reconcile?
Yeah, there is no.
Real quickly, okay.
Yeah, if the poem will lead you there. If there's a proxy item, it's still leading you there, right? Because you have to solve the poem. You get to the proxy item, and in there it tells you where the chest is. It led you there. You know, I mean, proxy item aside, what are you going to do if you go to the 9th clue and he scratched an arrow or something to give you directions on a rock? Are we going to ignore it because it's not in the poem? No, that would be silly. So I'm just saying, you know, to keep an open mind. That whole thing is really about keeping an open mind on what to look for. I'm not really trying to say, oh yeah, you know, it's definitely on private property, because frankly, it don't matter. We got to solve the poem either way, right?
Right. Well, Troy, thanks for that. I'm going to wrap it up on that. Thanks for joining us tonight. You were a great guest, answered everybody's question, went into a great more detail than I would have expected, and maybe shared some stuff that you thought that I think is important to the folks out there in our chat room. I'd also like to thank our panelists for joining us tonight. Thank you, Cynthia, Mike, Rick, and Pam. I love having you guys here, love seeing your faces, and love the questions that you asked. Jason, thank you for acting as producer tonight. I know it was a new job for you, but you handled it beautifully, as I knew you would, and I was really glad to see your help. Lastly, I'd like to thank our moderators, Joel Lewicki, Jimmy Fast, Brian Eagle, and who did I miss? Man in the Barn. For doing the great job that you do with our moderation. You make it a place of conversation and kind of peace, and I'm glad you guys are out there doing that job for us, because it really makes it fun for other people to join us. And then Shelley Carney, we missed you. Thanks for joining us in the chat room tonight. Safe travels. Sean, I don't mean to speak negatively of Shawnee, Oklahoma, but we look forward to getting pictures of Gus's graduation. But thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. And lastly, all of you folks that came into the chat room tonight, I didn't see the numbers. Let me see real quickly. So 140 people that came in and joined us in the chat room tonight. I'm glad that you were here. We love having you here. This is only an hour, and I know it seems like it goes by pretty quickly, but we're very grateful that you show up, and we hope you find these panel sessions entertaining, informative, and educational, and we look forward to having you back for, next week. So let me take a little break. We're not doing a panel session. Next week, we're doing a Zoom.us. I want to call it a Fenbury, but it's not. So we're doing a Zoom.us meet and greet, and we're open to up to 100 people. I will post a link, and Shelley Carney, if you see this, post a link. Hey, little brother. I will post a link to a video instructing you how to be on that Zoom chat. We're going to give you some time to introduce yourself to all the other members on that zoom.us chat. Shelly has a name for it. Fenn. Shelly, tell them what the name is. She's got a name for it, but it's next Wednesday, so there won't be a panel session next Wednesday. There'll be a by invitation only zoom.us web conference, for lack of a better way to describe it. So I'll post the link to the, like I said, the video that gives you the instructions on how to join that session and meet other searchers. And we're going to continue to do this about once a quarter so that everybody can get to know everybody else. And then eventually we could post it on YouTube, but this is very much the zoom.us webinar. Who was our little friend there, Rick?
Oh, that's my grandson, Eli. He's been on a bunch of my blog posts. I've used him several times.
You're right. Jason,
yeah.
Are you doing like a Brady Bunch thing? Is that what that is?
No.
Because every time I do one of these panel sessions, I get somebody saying, hey, it looks like the Brady Bunch. Now I know why. It's you messing around with it.
Well, it doesn't help with Rick and I and our solid color backgrounds.
Yeah.
I saw that in the chat, on the chat room too. Somebody said Brady Bunch.
All right. So good night, everybody here. Good night in the chat room. Good night, moderators. Good night, Shelly Carney. We missed you. And we'll see you in our programming the next couple of weeks, okay? Transitioning to the outro. Thanks, guys.